My name is Sophia Hart, and at 31, I never imagined I'd be the focus of my father's wedding. Henry Caldwell, venture capitalist, collector of titles, worshipper of appearances, has spent years introducing me with a smile as just a security guard. Hey, prefer polished resume and corner office. I shows boots, drills, and duty. After 6 demanding years in Air Force Security Forces, I used the GI Bill to earn a degree in emergency management and now serve as a senior threat analyst at Sentinel Ridge Security. It's work that keeps people safe and lets me sleep at night. He calls it a phase. The ceremony is set on a sun-splashed Napa Valley vineyard, rows of vines, marching toward a copper horizon. Victoria Hale, his bride, has curated every petal and place card. Guests drift past in linen and pearls, discussing funds and wine allocations, while a string quartet polishes the air with Bach. I stand at the edge of the scene in a slate blue dress, steady on the surface, storm beneath. I told myself I came for peace, respect. Truthfully, I came to stop flinching when he says my name. I didn't know the day would test everything I am. By 3:30, the vineyard is humming glass, clinks, camera, shutters, sun sliding down the hills like warm honey. I take a seat near the back, where I can see both the aisle and the service lanes. Old habits identify exits, count, staff, clock patterns. Most servers move with the same rhythm, left-hand tray, right-hand napkins, except for one tall man whose jacket strains at the shoulders. His bow tie is crooked, shoes scuffed, and he keeps scanning faces instead of tables. Not hospitality eyes, assessment eyes. I tell myself to let it go. Then I spot 2 more caterers trailing the perimeter with identical earpieces tucked under their hair. They exchange a glance that's too practiced for temp staff. A third rolls a linen cart that's heavier than linen should be, careful to keep it closed. My father appears briefly at the aisle, glowing in his tux, and introduces me to a pair of donors as Sophia, the security guard. The word lands like a paper cut. I smile. Anyway, enjoy the ceremony, I say, while my pulse climbs for a different reason. I drift toward the service corridor, casual as anyone looking for the restroom. The tall man ducks through a door marked storage. I count 10, then 12, then slip to the jam and listen. Muffled voices. Numbers. 4 more at the east gate. After the toast. Quick in, quick out. A metallic click. My stomach goes cold. I step back, phone low, against my skirt. Napa County Sheriff's Dispatch. I keep my voice even. This is Sophia Hart, with Sentinel Ridge Security, off-duty on-site at Caldwell Hale Ceremony, Rosebriar Vineyard. I have probable cause for an organized theft crew, possibly armed. 7 on site, 4 inbound via East Service Road. Request, discrete units, no sirens. The dispatcher takes me seriously, thank God, and asks for descriptors. I give heights, clothing, get, markers, and the makeshift rally point near the loading dock. ETA, 15 to 20 minutes. That's an ocean. Next stop the venue's security hub, a cramped office behind the tasting room, where a guard named Owen watches a wall of cameras. I flash my credentials. I need your supervisor. 2 minutes later, Marisol Vega, head of security, arrives with a radio on her hip and no patience for theatrics. I brief fast anomalies, storage room chatter, earpieces, the linen cart. We can't blow the ceremony on a hunch, Marisol says, scanning feeds. Then she sees it, the linen cart, pausing at the jewelry table, a hand testing the tablecloth edge, another figure mirroring on the opposite side of the tent. Her jaw tightens. Copy. We go quiet. She redeploys her 3-person team, 1 to each exit, 1 to shadow the cart. I text her, a quick grid of the lawn angles, choke points, best cover, if it goes loud. We agree on a simple signal hand to heart. Then, 2. Fingers forward. Move now. Back outside. The quartet swells. The bridal party lines up. I slide to the last row, eyes sweeping. The imposter crew melts into position 1 near the bar, 2 near gifts. The tall man at the power panel. He glances at his watch right as the officiant lifts his notes. My phone buzzes unknown number. I silence it. Focus. Victoria starts down the aisle, lace, catching light. My father's face opens in a way I rarely see. For a breath, I feel 12 again, wanting him to look at me like that. The tall man flips the breaker. The lights stutter, just enough to pull eyes upward. In that blink, hands move, jackets lift, bodies pivot into lanes of fire and flight. This is the seam, where everything tears or holds. I rise. The power hiccups once lights dim. Speakers crackle. The quartet falters. And that sliver of darkness is all the crew needs. The tall server, near the panel, touches his earpiece. Another lifts his tray and, with a magician's flourish, reveals not flutes, but sip teas. At the bar, a third reaches inside his jacket. Metal catches sunlight. Gun y project. Voice low, but cutting. As I pivot behind the last row chairs and shove 2 guests down, linen explodes into motion screams. Heels scraping flagstone. Glass chiming against stone like a rain of bells. The gunman fires 1 round into the sky. The world shrinks to breath, angles, and lines of fire. Nobody move. He barks. Jewelry, watches, phones on the ground. 2 accomplices surge toward the gift table, hands sweeping for envelopes. The tall one stalks the aisle, wolfish, eyes hunting for leverage. I flash Grace Vega, the head of security, a quick signal hand to heart, 2 fingers forward. She nods from the side flap of the tent, her radio tucked under a napkin. Owen posted at the east exit, pretending to fix a drape. An older woman near me hyperventilates, clutching her chest. A robber swings his muzzle her way. I slide, palms up. I'm a medic. I lee, steady as granite. Let me help before she seizes. You don't want that headline. He hesitates. 30 seconds. He growls. I shield the woman with my body, guiding her breath in for 4, out for 6. While I count, I map. 3 guns visible. 2 more shapes under jackets. 1 at the bar primary. 1 by the gifts collector. 1 up the aisle control. My father and Victoria are at the arbor, frozen. He's angled in front of her, which is brave and useless. Sirens, none yet. Dispatch said, 15 to 20. I need to buy time without escalating. The leader tall, panel guy reaches my father. Watch. Ring. Now. Henry fumbles his cuff, hands shaking. The leader leans closer, greedy. I stand, slow as the tide. There's a master list for safe codes at the front office. I call, just loud enough. Take me. It'll go faster. His eyes flick to me. Slim dress. No, purse. No threat, he thinks. He steps into my orbit, muzzle drifting, attention, narrowing to the promise of more. That's the seam. I move. My left hand traps his wrist. My right slices under the trigger guard. Rotating the handgun off axis. Snap. His finger breaks against the frame. He gasps. I drive a palm heel into his solar plexus. Air leaves him in a torn sound. The pistol drops. I kick it under the chair row and wrench him forward, using his body as cover. Another shot cracks. Heat kisses my upper arm like a wasp made of fire. I keep the leader pinned, my voice knife sharp. Weapons down. Police are on site. A bluff that won't hold, but it only needs to wobble them. Grace bursts from cover with Owen on her flank, moving guests behind tables. The bar gunman swings. I haul the leader into his line of fire. He stalls, won't risk his boss. You're surrounded, I say, breath steady, despite the wet warmth slipping down my bicep. Walk away from the edge of a felony turning into a funeral. Out by the gravel drive, blue strobes. Stutter, no sirens, just light. Dispatch listened. 2 deputies fan toward the tent, low and deliberate. The collector at the gift table falters. Plan B, he hisses. The gunman by the bar grabs a young server, yanking her against his chest. Muzzle at her temple. Gasps ripple. My pulse slows. Hostage calculus is a language I speak. Easy, I say, easing the leader to the ground, knee on his shoulder blade. We can end this without another shot. The server's eyes find mine, wide and wet. I nod once small, certain. Let her go. I tell him, take me. He hesitates. Calculating risk, escape routes, the narrowing circle of blue light outside. And then he makes his choice. He doesn't take me. He jerks the server tighter and tries to crab walk toward the tasting room, muzzle jittering, eyes wild. The aisle is a maze of toppled chairs and scattered glass. Deputies fan to the tent edge, muzzles averted to avoid spooking him. The air tastes like copper and fear. Stop, I call, voice, level. This path dead ends at a locked door. There's a loading dock to your left. You can't see from there. Let the girl go and I'll walk you out without anyone getting hurt. He flicks a glance where I've pointed. That microsecond of divided attention is oxygen. I slide 2 steps, keeping chairs between us, my wounded arm tucked close to hide the blood, darkening my sleeve. Grace Vega ghosts along the opposite side, palms open, eyes on me. We are a quiet hinge, closing the door on panic. 3, 2, I count, not for him, for the deputies who've trained to my cadence, even if they don't know it yet. On 1, I tilt mich and Grace kills the stuttered lights for a single beat. The world blinks. I move through the blink. My right hand cuts the line of his wrist. My left shoves the hostage's shoulder low and away. The pistol skips off a chair back, discharging harmlessly into canvas, and his fingers explode with pain as I torque them past their range. He howls. I ride him down, knee pinning his triceps, forearm to jaw, breath steady. Weapon secure, I say, and only then realize my father is standing halfway down the aisle, hands up, lips, forming my name like a prayer. He's never said aloud. It's over in seconds. The deputies flood in, voices braided, with command and comfort. Owen hustles guests to the lawn. EMTs swarm the older woman I shielded earlier. Grace squeezes my shoulder quick, fierce, before peeling off to debrief a deputy. Someone drapes a linen napkin over my arm. I look down and feel suddenly very tired. Henry reaches me like a man who forgot how to walk and is just now relearning. He stops short, eyes on the blood, the gun at my knee, the man who almost broke his wedding into a tragedy. The world that fits the language he speaks funds, margins. Valuation doesn't help him here. For once, there's nothing to negotiate. Only what is. Sophia, he says, and it cracks. The old reflex trips explain, minimize, joke it off. I swallow it and meet his eyes. They're not the eyes of a boardroom general now. They're a father's eyes, watching his daughter hold back the dark. I'm okay, I tell him. It's not entirely true. My arm is a furnace, and my heart is a drum, but it's the right bridge to step onto. His breath shakes. He looks at the deputies cuffing the last thief, at Victoria, clutching her bouquet like a lifeline, at strangers whispering the word, hero, like it's fragile china. When his gaze returns to me, something fundamental has shifted, like a picture that's always hung crooked, has finally been set straight. All these years, he murmurs, almost to himself, I bragged about balance sheets. He swallows. And this is what balance looks like. I don't rescue him from the discomfort. I let the silence do its work. He takes another step, palms open, like Grace did, like I did, showing he's unarmed at last. I didn't see you, he admits, not as excuse, but inventory. Across the lawn, a local news van rolls up, with its lights off. A deputy waves them back. Grace returns with a paramedic who starts irrigating my arm. The sting jerks a tear from the corner of my eye. I blink it away and keep my voice level while I give a clean, compact statement. Training is a mercy. It gives you words when your hands are shaking. When they're done, Henry clears his throat. You saved us. There's no grandiloquence in it, just the plain weight of truth. It lands softer than I expect, and heavier than I wanted. What changes isn't the title under my name or the way the guests look at me. Those are surface currents. What changes is internal, the slow, undeniable exhale of a life lived to be understood. Finally, refusing to hold its breath. I realize I don't need him to understand, to keep being who I am. And maybe because I no longer need it, he finally can. The sun drops lower over the vines, gilding everything that remains. Sirens stay mercifully distant. Somewhere a cork pops habit, shock, or both. And I laugh, once, surprised by the sound. My father startles, then smiles. Small, unpracticed, human. "Let's get you looked at," he says. "I already am," I answer. And we both know I mean more than the bandage. By dawn, the vineyard is quiet again, rows of vines breathing fog, chairs reset, glass swept into discreet bins. My phone isn't quiet. It vibrates across the nightstand like a small animal trying to escape missed calls from unknown numbers. 3 voicemails from the Napa County Sheriff's Office. A text from Grace Vega, proud of you. Call me. And an email from Sentinel Ridge Security with the subject line, "After action plus next steps." I flip on the local news out of habit. The lower third reads, "Wedding heist foiled by security specialist." Not guard. A small word with a long shadow. They run a freeze frame of me, mid-disarm, unflattering, decisive and pan, to interviews with guests who now pronounce my name carefully, like they're learning it for the first time. I switch it off when they cut to pundits debating venue liability. None of that helps anyone breathe easier. A number I recognize lights the screen. Marcus Reed, our Director of Operations. "You good?" he asks, voice clipped, the way people sound when relief outruns sleep. "I will be," I say, "clean through and through." EMTs were kind. Copy. 2 things. First, the sheriff wants a technical debrief this afternoon. They're considering a civilian citation and want your analysis for their case package. Second, the board wants to move on the training initiative we've batted around. Event risk response. West Coast pilot. You'd build it, lead it, ire it. Full director track. I sit on the edge of the bed, the room tilting a degree toward a future I'd sketched in pencil. Because of yesterday proving what we've known for years, he says, "You design systems that hold when people panic. We need that institutional, not just improvisational." Conditions, I ask. Your call on curriculum. Trauma-informed protocols. Venue partnerships. Speaking is optional, not required. Compensation reflects the responsibility. The line goes quiet long enough for it to sound like respect. "I'm in," I say, and he exhales. After we hang up, another message arrives from Victoria Hale. She thanks me, with a voice still trembling around the edges, and invites me to a charity brunch. She and my father are repurposing proceeds to a fund for training hospitality staff in crisis response. Henry wants to match donations, she adds, like she's reporting a weather event no one predicted. At the sheriff's substation, the debrief is brisk. We pull up camera angles. I annotate timing. Grace contributes a list of low-cost venue fixes, standardized uniforms, tamper seals on utility panels, emergency light, rehearsal. The lieutenant asks if I'll help draft a joint best practices sheet. Make it readable, I say. Plain English, big fonts, People hold on to what they can picture. Back at the hotel, I finally answer one media request. Local only. I keep it short. No battle stories. No hero language. I talk about breathing counts, about how older guests needed chairs moved so they could sit safely, about how panic closes vision and planning reopens it. We overlay a simple checklist on the footage exits. Comms, lights, cover. The producer nods. For once, the lower third reads like a public service, not a headline. In the afternoon, Henry texts club soda with lime 4 p.m. Top floor. A small invitation and a larger one beneath it. Meet me where the view is wide. Opportunity isn't always a promotion. Sometimes it's a door you stopped knocking on because your knuckles bled. I tell him yes. Before I go, I call Marcus back. One condition. I say, we build scholarship slots for veterans and second career adults, hotel staff, church, ushers, anyone who keeps communities running. And we design modules for aging populations' mobility, meds, hearing aids. Yesterday reminded me who's sitting in the back rows. He laughs softly. That's exactly why it's yours. I slip on a jacket that doesn't hide the bandage. Some truths should show. The elevator lifts, the doors open, and the horizon pours in vines. Light. A father waiting with 2 glasses and, maybe, a better question than the ones he used to ask. Opportunity, it turns out, looks a lot like responsibility. You're finally ready to carry. And I am. The stitches come out in a week. The scar is a tidy crescent, a punctuation mark, closing one sentence and opening another. I keep the slate blue dress folded in tissue, blood washed out, fabric whole. Because I'm done pretending the hard parts didn't happen. I want reminders I chose to stand up, and that I can again. I book counseling through the VA, Tuesday mornings in a room with bad coffee and excellent chairs. Our group is a mosaic, a retired nurse from Desert Storm, a postal worker who served in the Guard, a soft-spoken Marine who counts exits, like I do. We trade tools, grounding tricks, sleep hygiene, words for feelings. I used to pack into silence. The counselor asks what I do. When people say just a security guard, I tell her I stopped arguing the word and started redefining it. Guard, as in guardianship of people, of spaces, of dignity. The room nods. I write it on an index card and tuck it in my wallet. At Sentinel Ridge, the Event Risk and Response Program goes from concept to calendar. I build modules that look like real-life dimmed lights. I flustered maître de, grandpa, with a hearing aid that squeals when the room gets loud. We drill breathing counts and chair sweeps. We practice speaking to panic like it's a person because it is. My favorite slide is titled, Grandmothers First. It's not cute. It's policy. Mobility, meds, stairs plan around the slowest, and everyone gets safer. On launch day, 30 hospitality workers file into a borrowed ballroom banquet captains, church ushers, winery hosts. Grace Vega shows up on her day off, leaning against the wall, with a proud grin. Halfway through, the doors open again, and Henry Caldwell slips in, wearing jeans and a navy sweater. I didn't know he owned. He sits in the back, hands flat on his knees, and listens. During the scenario lab, I ask for a volunteer to play disruptive guest. Henry stands. A month ago, he would have performed. Today, he simply follows directions. I coach him through de-escalation language. I hear you. Let me get you space. We'll sort this out. And he repeats each line without irony. When we're done, he turns to the class. She does this to keep your people safe, he says, voice steady. If my event had purchased this training, my wife wouldn't wake up at 2 a.m. when a truck backfires. The room goes quiet in the way honesty earns. Afterward, he lingers by the prop table. I've been telling folks, you lead a program, he says. Careful now. Not, not just anything. I finish, and his mouth twists into a rueful smile. Boundaries become part of the curriculum I teach myself. I decline the glossy magazine spread. I accept the local morning show when they agree to run our checklist on screen. I stop translating my work into his language and let it stand in mine. When donors ask for war stories, I redirect. Let's talk about lighting and line of sight. When a reporter wants a hero arc, I offer a training schedule. Victoria texts photos from the repurposed brunch place cards, printed with emergency numbers on the back, donations, underwriting scholarships for staff who can't afford certification. Henry matches anonymously at my request. That's growth too. Doing the right thing without his name in bold. Some nights the pop of a champagne cork still zings my nerves. On those nights, I walk the block. Name: 5 blue things, 5 green. Breathe until the world widens. The scar fades from angry red to thoughtful pink. It doesn't disappear. Neither do I. Here's the strangest part. As I stop needing my father to understand me, he starts trying to. He asks about trauma-informed scripts. He sits in the corner during another class, scribbling notes like a freshman, in awe of the lecture. He doesn't call me a guard anymore. He calls me by my name. That's the growth I didn't expect, not becoming someone new, but standing, unshaken, as the person I've been all along. A year later, the sun sets on Caldwell House, an old brick library Henry restored and opened to the community after the Vineyard incident. Tonight, it hosts our first community safety and preparedness graduation. Ushers in navy blazers, banquet captains in scuffed dress shoes, church greeters with name tags crooked from use, a string quartet play, not to impress donors, but because Mrs. Alvarez's grandson needed volunteer hours and knows 3 hymns and a waltz. I stand backstage with Grace Vega, watching the room fill. There's no VIP rope, no centerpieces high enough to block the sight lines. The check-in table has printed maps of exits, a basket of earplugs, and a note that says, "If loud sounds bother you, we'll lower the volume. Tell us what you need." We built this on purpose. Safety that feels like welcome, not surveillance. Henry steps to the podium in a rumpled suit and miracle of miracles. Comfortable shoes. He taps the mic once, then smiles at the graduates, like a man who has been taught something and remembers the teacher's name. Last year, he begins. I thought security meant locked doors and bigger guards. Then my daughter showed me It means seeing people before there's a problem and standing with them when there is. The room quiets the way rooms do right before a prayer. He gestures to me. Sophia designed this program. She won't say this. So, I will. You are safer tonight because she cares more about your grandmother getting to a chair than anyone looking important at a table. Laughter lifts the ceiling tiles. A few grandmothers clap first. I take the mic and speak about breathing counts and table layouts, but also about the first week I stopped apologizing for my job title. I tell them what the VA group taught me, that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the practice of choosing people over panic. Halfway through, I spot Victoria near the aisle, handing a nervous usher a spare pair of flats. She mouths, "You're doing great," and I believe her. We hand out certificates. The postal worker who once paced through my drills crosses the stage with steady shoulders. The winery host, who used to freeze at loud noises, accepts hers and points to the earplugs on her keyring like a talisman. A boy tugs his grandfather's sleeve and whispers, "That's my church usher," the old man beams, and I feel my throat tighten in the best possible way. When the music swells, Henry leans in. "I framed the first flyer," he says, half proud, half shy. "Put it in my office, right next to the deal tombstones." I laugh. "You mean the paper sculptures?" He grins. Turns out, paper can honor more than profits. After the photos, the lights stay on. No dramatic dimming. By design, people drift toward the courtyard, where we built a low ramp last month with leftover budget and a call for volunteers. It's not a grand gesture. It's a right one. A woman in a cobalt dress wheels her father outside to feel the night breeze, and I think this is what we came for. On the steps, Henry hesitates like he did that day in the vineyard, then rests a hand over his heart. Our signal. 2 fingers forward, he murmurs, smiling at our private language. Move now. We do. Not into chaos, but into a future, roomy enough for both of us. He invites me to brunch, just us. I say yes, because it no longer feels like a test. The scar on my arm is pale as a crescent moon. I touch it without flinching. Some stories end with sirens. Mine ends with a ramp, a program, and a father who learned to say my name without a wince. The headline never mattered. What lasts is the daily, quiet work of making spaces where people can breathe weddings and funerals, Friday fish fries, and Sunday services, knowing someone has already counted the exits and chosen their side. I used to think I needed recognition to feel real. Now I know doing the work is recognition enough. And in a world that loves spectacle, we kept something better. Safety that looks like dignity, and love that looks like showing up. The day at the vineyard taught me a plain truth. Worth is not a title. It is a pattern of choices repeated under pressure. I spent years shrinking when someone said just a guard. The work never changed, only my willingness to claim it. Guard means guardian of the elderly guest who needs a chair, of the server, trapped by a man with a gun, of a father who finally learns to see. The second truth is that courage is practical. It is breath counts, clear exits, and a calm voice when panic is loud. Headlines pass, habits stay. When Henry shifted from polishing appearances to protecting people, our relationship grew not because I performed a miracle, but because we both chose maintenance over image. Love is maintenance. Community is maintenance. Safety is maintenance. None of it is glamorous, and all of it is holy work. If you have carried someone else's disappointment, set it down. Let results, not approval, anchor you. Learn the skills. Take the class. Practice. Until calm becomes muscle memory. You do not have to be fearless to be dependable. You only have to show up, prepared, again and again, until the room can breathe with you. Real-life application approximately equals 150 words. Start small this week. Walk through your church, community hall, or favorite restaurant and locate all exits. Ask staff where the first aid kit and fire extinguisher live. Practice a breathing count. Inhale 4, exhale 6, until it feels natural. If you host events, print guest-friendly maps and designate a calm point person. Build a simple checklist: lights, L, chairs for elders, meds, and water. Emergency numbers taped under the registration table. Take a basic first aid or stop the bleed class. Invite a friend and make it a habit, not a headline. If you lead a team, rehearse. 1 5-minute scenario at every meeting: lost child, power outage, to medical issue, so people learn to move without panic. Speak about safety in plain English, without shame or bravado. Finally, practice. Respect as protocol: greet custodians by name. Thank servers. Notice who needs a chair. Guardianship is a culture we make together, one prepared breath at a time, daily. CTA. If this resonated, subscribe. Share your story in the comments, a time you were finally seen, and send this video to someone who needs a steady voice today.